Hello, and welcome to a Wized live stream. Today we are joined with the second place winners of the Memberstack Wized Competition. So just like last week, we have Julian on the stream. Last week we presented third place Sending Flow. Today we are presenting StudioForm, second place. And this product is super cool. We have Leon and we have Mohammed here, and Julian is going to be walking through this product with them, and we're going to see how valuable this tool is. Before we get into that, let's say hello to the audience. Audience, please say what's up, say where you're from. Let's see who we have here checking out the stream. Julian, how's it going? How are you doing? Julian is the head of community over at Memberstack, a crucial part of the Wiz Memberstack competition. Julian, how are you feeling today?
Thank you. I am feeling great. I'm excited for this. I'm excited to see more. Forms are a massive, massive part of both Wized and Memberstack. And this is a tool that makes both Wized and Memberstack forms better. So I'm hyped to see this. Thank you. Hope we're all doing good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, forms, it's one of those components that every site needs, right? There's different levels of complexity when you get into forms, of course, like everything from an email entry to a 50-step multi-form that connects to every database in the world. Every website needs a form. So this is just a crucial part of the process. And as we see more complex projects being built with Webflow, we're seeing a greater demand for more complex forms. The growth of projects in Webflow, the growth of projects in Memberstack and Wized, they're all requiring some type of advanced forms to use with them. So that's why this product is extra important. And yeah, it's something that I just see in everyday agency and freelancer life. So cool for Leon and Mohammed for coming up with this. Let's jump into the product. So what is StudioForm?
Awesome. Thank you for the question and the warm introduction. StudioForm is a forms framework, and more specifically, has a focus on multi-step forms to say that in simple terms. Mohammed has been very crucial in this journey, as he's put like a face to the product. So I've been building this product since October 2022, and it has really been like just technical, really hardcore engineering. And I think he has some really interesting insights because he sees the product not as the tacky. So he usually has a much better viewpoint of why this thing is valuable.
Awesome. So
Thank
I
you.
guess, oh, sorry to cut you off. Carry on.
No, I was just gonna say, putting a face to this product has been something we have been working and doing that, and I had an amazing time doing that. So yeah, that's what I want to say.
Awesome. So you guys originally StudioForm existed, and then after that and for this competition, it was the StudioForm Pro Library. And I'm interested to hear, I guess, first things first, let's just get into StudioForm as a product and the library as well. So if there's anything that you guys could show us now, walk us through, I guess, what it is, why it's there, so on and so forth. Not why you built it. We'll get into that one a bit after.
Yeah, of course. I don't see the screen sharing button, so I wonder if someone has to give me permission for that. Oh, or am I already sharing?
I think you're already sharing.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, let's jump into that. Should we start with the StudioForm Pro Library or just with like a finished product first?
I would say always best to lead with the finished product, because before I'm interested in listening to you, I want to know why it should be. So what is this and why do I want it?
Okay. So this morning or yesterday night, maybe, Mohammed and me started like designing, and this morning I started building a Marvel quiz. And StudioForm is all about quality and making things really stand out. And yeah, this is like a perfect example project.
So, just to add on to what you said, one thing that I noticed right away when I was using StudioForm, I've tested a lot of multi-step form solutions for Webflow, and it just felt really, really smooth. Like kind of the same thing that I had come to expect long ago when I was using stuff like Typeform. Obviously, once you add that and embed it into your website, the whole smooth aspect kind of just crumbles. But it felt to me like it was a Webflow native version of Typeform, which I really, really, really loved.
Awesome. Can Mohammed quickly take over because it's dang hot in my room? So I will be back in a second.
Sure.
Hope that's okay.
Sure.
Let's
So
see.
again, what was the question again, Julian?
Oh, no, I was just saying how it was super smooth and I really, really liked using it. So basically, what would be super awesome is I don't know if you can share your screen, but just to kind of see more about StudioForm itself, about the product, about the library, just kind of a general walkthrough of what StudioForm is to begin with.
Got it. So let me share my screen and see if everything works here. I have the library out here. I don't know. Can you see my screen right now?
We saw someone's screen for just a second.
I think it was Leon's screen, I guess. Oh, he's back.
I'm back. I just have to make sure that it's like not super hot here. I'm sitting in Berlin.
Yeah.
Summer's really brutal. You guys wanted to share the backend, right?
Yeah. So basically, just walk through StudioForm itself, StudioForm and StudioForm Pro Library, just so that anyone who's here who's not aware can fully understand what it is.
Okay, awesome. Is my screen sharing active?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, cool. So this is the StudioForm Pro Library once you log in. So this is a component library specifically made with a bunch of pre-filled, nicely looking, already out-of-the-box working components. And yeah, you usually just pick yourself one, and then you go to a Webflow project, for example, like a blank one, and you just paste it, and then you can, publish. And as you see, you have like this nice component, which will be live in a second. And you have like full customizability throughout the entire build.
So one thing that I want to ask you about is, like I said, there's a few different, I guess, ways to implement multi-step forms on a Webflow site. But I know there's a lot under the hood with StudioForm, which makes it not just multi-step as in, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, splitting things visually, but there's a lot going on under the hood. There's some logic that you have built in, stuff like that. So would you be able to talk a little bit about, I guess, besides the multi-step aspect of it, what StudioForm allows you to do?
Sure. Mohammed, do you want to quickly jump in on that? And then I can fill on the technical part of that, because it's always design and technical part.
Yeah.
So
Got it.
Maybe I will be here.
So yeah. So basically, StudioForm is built on the idea of having combo classes and then subsequently the attributes as well. So the combination of these two things is what StudioForm is built on. And apart from that, there's the Wized thing, which we can, the integration of Wiz, that's another supporting thing. And so these three things together is what is powering StudioForm. And so that gives you a huge amount of customizability. You can build the form any way you want, and that is so much important whenever you're thinking of designing any kind of form. And to be knowing that you can build any form with StudioForm, that's not an issue right now.
Yeah. And so besides the fact, I mean, you can design anything and make it work, of course. There's no kind of, a lot of form solutions with Webflow don't. Like they have kind of embedded stuff. Like I said, Typeform, if you want to use JotForm or something like that, it's embedded. Obviously, with StudioForm, you can design it completely as you want. And like we said, there are multiple steps. And with the logic, something that, so there's a whole bunch of kind of, I guess, terms in this space, which they make sense when you know them and you know where they relate. But what are some things that you could build with StudioForm Pro besides, a form, obviously, but like that Marvel thing that you got started on and that you showed, that I didn't realize when we were first talking, when we first kind of joined this stream together, that was like a quiz. That was actually taking my answers and doing something with them and then spitting something out to me on the front. And even though that is just kind of one slightly more simple use case, it's really powerful and you could do a whole lot of things with it. So like, how does that Marvel project work?
So
How that
I
works
can tell
underneath the
you
hood?
the underneath the hood. Is that the question?
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, like I guess picture I wanted to go ahead and make that or something like that right now. How would you show me, I guess, first of all, what's actually even going on? And second of all, how it was made?
Sure. Mohammed, you can go first if you want, and then we can
Sure.
go into how this looks in
Got it.
Webflow.
Got it. So basically, I just created the idea of like, let's have 5 characters as 5 results at the end, and also a result for, let's say, if nobody gets any of the characters. So based on that, I created like 7 questions and added all of them, and these are the results, as you can see. And so once I added those, I sent him all the answers which will relate to one character if chosen. So it's basically like a percentage kind of thing. And so I set up all the form in, and after that, I think Leon will let you know how he did the logic behind with Wized.
Yeah. So as you can see, those are the results. And over in Wist, this is like where it gets like really, really interesting. So this might be like a familiar format to like other form solutions, right? You have like your Webflow form over here. And then you basically set your setting, your attribute, which would be SF wrapper. And that way StudioForm knows, okay, this is the form you want to work with. And then when you want to combine it with Wist, you as well set like your Wist attribute over here. And then over in Wist, you basically turn on the X-ray. And what you then do is you listen to the form submit event, basically. And then on that submit event, we do all our logic. So we fade out the button group. We basically go to the success step and play that nice waiting animation. And then on the final thing, we trigger the calculation. And this will be it's a bit advanced, but it's still kind of like classic Wiz. So this is like a bit of a script that is basically calculating based on what you put in, what is like your most likely superhero character.
Yeah. That is sweet. And you were talking as well a bit about the events, and it might be a bit advanced for some people. It also might not. And personally, I'm just really interested to hear it. So could you talk a little bit about how StudioForm dispatches different events?
For sure. So you have like a lot of options. So the default are SF submit, which should be pretty straightforward. And then there's SF fetched, which is you make a form submission. And once that is successfully processed, for example, by the standard Webflow server, then you can listen to that. But when you get into Wist, you usually want to get really, really custom. And there is like a special mode we develop, which we call SF promise resolve, which allows you to dispatch an event on every step. So you could dispatch an event on the first step, the second, third, whatever. And in this case, we actually only dispatch one at the very end, so on step 7. And that is the event that we are listening to on form submit over here, so as of promise.
Nice.
The reason we do that, the reason we do that is we don't want to make an actual submission to the Webflow server. We just want it for the user to feel like a submission.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I sometimes have to go out of the view, but it's just so dang hot in here.
I know. Anyone watching this in Europe can, including myself, can heavily relate. It's gotten a little bit better recently, but yeah, the whole continent has just been burning. So, for all of our European viewers here, we feel for you. And the next thing that I wanted to ask about as well is not actually directly related to StudioForm, but related to BMG and who you guys are and what you do.
Sure. We're a low-code development agency. So we do web app projects. That's what we focus on. Initially, I started out as a freelancer. And actually, within my first couple of months, I met Mohammed. And we've been working for almost 2 years now. So it has been a great partnership. And basically, this evolved from classic Figma to Webflow to people asking more and more about my coding skills. And they weren't that great in the beginning, actually, but it just turned out people were asking for them. So I just had to get a bit better at them. And eventually I've hit a point, or I've had a project where someone basically wanted a web app, but I was not capable of noticing that. So it just looked to me like a normal website. It actually would have been a complex multi-step form checkout thing. Went way over my head, and that was basically the first time I heard of Xeno and what backends are, and that humans are actually capable of making them themselves, and that you don't have to have a master's degree in engineering to do these. So that's basically how BMG started in a nutshell.
Oh yeah, I can very much so relate to that. Everything that I learned, especially before in my career, was just a result of client says do X. I have no idea how to do X, but someone's got to get it done. I learn how to do it and I get it done. And then I slowly realize, oh, wait, this is actually what I'm into. That was also how I got into Webflow to begin with. I was a designer and we needed a website. So, I learned it and here I am. Now I barely even design anymore. So with that as well, like you said, you went from kind of a standard Webflow, Figma agency to focusing on low-code web apps. And it's really interesting because that is new. That is very, very new. 5 years ago, I don't think a single low-code web app agency existed. So with that being said, why is it valuable? When would a company want to go and work with a low-code web app agency instead of, I guess, just kind of a standard development house?
That's a great question. So the way I see it is that you have the no-code agency on the one hand, and then you have the classic agency on the other hand. And for the classic coding agencies, let's put it just quite frankly, let's say you want to do a native mobile app and maybe some web app stuff on top of that. You're not going to be on the 6 figures if you go to anyone with a good reputation.
Yeah.
So that is quite a heavy investment for people just exploring this space, right? And companies that want to put their foot into the software world. It's just a bit heavy. So that is where initially no code came in as being quite a game changer for, holy crap, we can now do stuff within a couple of days, and it's actually users are enjoying that, and it's giving us a return on investment. And low-code web apps are somewhat in the middle of that, I would say, because no code only gets you like this far, and at a certain point you will hit like a wall of, okay, I've done all my base standard use cases. That works all great. Okay, now I want to do X, Y, Z, and it turns out, oh my goodness, I can't do anything here that goes slightly out of the box. What do I do now? Do I go to like the classic coding agencies and start really heavy? And I guess that's where like the low code really comes in, is to be like somewhere in the middle and to have like a much broader bandwidth, right? You can go from like quite a small project to really, really big projects.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. You're right. If you look at it this way, there's a spectrum. There's no code and there's traditional development. And basically before, the way it worked, like you said, is let's say you're an entrepreneur, you want to build yourself a little product just to test the market. You do that with no code tools, and you are, let's say you validate your idea, you get like 5 or 6 users, you are immediately screwed. Like immediately, whatever you built is not going to work for these 5 users, more than likely. And then it's like, all right, I've got 5 users, I've got an MRR of like $18 a month, rolling in money over here. And I need to take that next step. So that entrepreneur is going to go and talk to development house. They're going to hear like 100K, 150K, 200K at the lowest end, let's say like 40. And that is kind of impossible, because how are you going to go from validating your idea and your $18 MRR on to the point of actually being able to afford to pay these guys 200K? There is no middle ground. Whereas with no low code development, you can build something. I don't know how your quoting process works, but a client could come to you and want something specific. You can cut down certain features and get it to a point where you can build them something for, let's just say 5-10 grand, something that is a very reasonable investment. And then from there, a little more scale up. And you can actually go from idea to successful business without this big, blocker in the middle, this, no man's land of like, I can't afford it, but I'm never going to be able to afford it if I don't buy it. So, take out credit, who knows what to do. So yeah, that's something that I really think more people see right now, because I'm sure all of us get a little bit frustrated by a common notion in, I guess, the broader space of you got no code and you got development. There is a massive difference between no code and low code. I mean, night and day. So I love that. I love to hear that. And then back as well onto StudioForm, because you guys are an agency and, you've had to work with forms. So like, what turned StudioForm into an idea to even begin with?
It initially started out back in October 2022 when like a potential client emailed me that they wanted to upgrade their contact form. So they had like this little ugly iframed thing in there, and they just wanted like a really nice conditional multi-step form that really was tailored to their brand. So this was not actually like web apps were like way over my head by then. And so this was just this was basically still a marketing form, and that's how that initially started. There were some solutions around at that point, but they worked great for like the first and the second day of development. But like on the third day of development, I noticed, okay, we've hit really hard roadblocks here. I kind of have to. Then I looked like at the source code of that solution and tried to add like the additional features that I wanted, but it was just not going anywhere. And then I had to face it. Probably on the fourth day that I had to build everything on my own, and then I had to pull through, and took way longer than initially thought. So initially priced that on like a couple of days work, and took about like 2 months to get it finally to where the client wanted it, or like until it was the way the client actually wanted it.
Oh yeah. But I mean, here you are today. It created that idea. And one thing I want to touch on that is almost the exact same as how the idea for sending flow, our conversation last week, came to be as well. You have an agency, you have a client who needs something, and the existing solutions in the market do not fit. So, to any agencies and freelancers watching this, listen to me on this one. You have $1 million ideas all around you all the time. Whenever they come up, whenever you're sitting there scratching your chin and saying, there is nothing to make this work. How are we going to make our clients happy? Do what Leon did, bite the bullet, take 2 months, lose a ton of money on the project, and then use that rage, frustration, inspiration, whatever you want to call it, to go ahead and build a product. Because there are so many ideas out there that have not been hit yet. And now on to StudioForm. So unfortunately, we do not have enough time to talk about the entire journey of StudioForm, because I know StudioForm started, a few years back. But to go on to the competition here, so wherever you saw the news that we're having this competition and you applied, what did that look like? Start from there, and then give me any information that you can from that application to your submission. How did that look?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Mohammed and I, we had we launched like the new version for StudioForm that was compatible with Wized, I think like in December, and then we like January and February were quite quiet, and then we started talking around like in March. And the thing that I noticed was people had quite a hard time to adapt to StudioForm, and people do not enjoy reading documentations. And on top of that, my documentations were really, really bad. So basically, we had a couple of things there. So the product was, in my mind, really, really good, but I had a hard time convincing other people that they want to spend time on this to figure out how to use this. And what we came up with is, wouldn't it be much easier, instead of trying to convince people reading through documentations and like learning how I think and how I develop so that they can adapt that, wouldn't it be much easier to just click like a copy button and paste like a ready-made component inside of your project, and you're good to go. You're basically already 9% of the way there. So, and we had that idea, and then we actually did like some initial testing and made like some initial drafts of how this could look. And then like the project world kicked in again, and we let it sleep a bit. And then all of a sudden we saw like that Memberstack and Wized competition post. And we thought, oh, we could do that. That would be very useful. Like, we need to market like this idea anyways. And we wanted to progress and continue with this library either way. And then this opportunity came around, and we basically instantly applied and just wanted to make sure that we are gonna be accepted, because we would theoretically fall into the category of already started, but we purposefully, I think, we delayed like the building and like the full designing, like going from low fidelity to like the higher forms of design, actually until like the 29th, so that we could have like a full flow and in that competition and actually meet all the criteria. So yeah, I guess that answers the question.
Oh yeah, so that is a really great idea. And for the next competition that comes around, for anyone who is here, keep logs of whatever ideas you have, because when the time comes, it's that point that you can actually just kind of get started and kick off with it. So Leon, along with that, after you got started, I guess, because it was the what's it called, StudioForm Pro Library that was built in those 2 weeks. So I guess, how difficult was it to meet that 2-week timeline? Because if I'm not wrong, before these 2 weeks, StudioForm was a just, I guess, framework. is the best way to say it, which is great, but there's no product on top of it. So within those 2 weeks, it went from framework to product. Framework still exists, obviously. How easy / hard was it to get that done in 2 weeks?
So I've done like copy components to clipboard sometime in the past. So I had like the core functionality already somewhat laying around, and we already had like ideas for like the component. So like these 2 weeks were basically like hardcore assembly for us, but we didn't have to invent a crazy bunch of things. So and Mohammed is like one of the best designers I've ever seen, and he literally invented like the entire brand within like a couple of days. Yeah, we basically just try to assemble things as best as possible. And I have to say, I think it just for being like a product of like this reasonable size, it went fairly fast, and we didn't have that many hiccups. That might also be because we are all already fairly technical, and we have like these design skills bundled up in Mohammed's way of working. So that just plays really well with like Memberstack and Wized, and also we use Xeno for storing like the components. And all of that coming together just worked really, really well. For example, like Google Auth and LinkedIn authentication, and then email authentication, and making sure you have all your email messaging set up. That just takes forever. And with Memberstack, you have that like set up directly from the start. So I don't know. I guess I had like the auth set up within a couple of hours, maybe. So that was awesome.
That is awesome. That makes me super happy to hear. And to repeat something that I said on the last call, that is exactly what I saw as the value to combining Memberstack and Wized. Is you get the power of Memberstack, but you get the speed, I guess, that you've come to expect with building with Webflow, of just getting things set up to begin with. And something I want to kind of shout out on that point is a lot of people still, they always have and they always will look at people's hourly rates and say, oh, that's expensive. Maybe it's $100 an hour, maybe 200, maybe 300, whatever it may be. And then compare that to something a lot lower. When you're working with a team like BMG, I have no idea what your hourly rates are, guys. You feel free to say that if you want, but there you go. All right. So when you're paying that, you are not just getting those hours. Like, this was fairly easy for them to build in 2 weeks because they already had all this knowledge. They already had all this stuff that they set up. That is what you're paying for. You're not paying for hours. You're paying for years and years and years of experience. So for anyone here who's hiring anyone, definitely keep that in mind, because the value of working with people who know what they're doing is so worth it. And other than that, guys, good point.
Can I jump in with a comment on that? I love what you just said there, Julian. That's just such a true statement all around. And I'd love to share a story of a sales call I had last week. I was quoting for an LMS, right? They wanted a full LMS system, totally custom. And I said, oh, we just completed another project that's LMS that's really similar. And we have a lot of the building blocks ready to go, and we'll be able to customize on top of that. And they said, okay, great. So it's going to be less money. They just kind of implied that they were going to pay less because we had already done the LMS. And I responded to them and I said, no, it's the opposite. It's going to cost more because yours is going to be so much better than the one we just built. You get to use all the value that we just built for the last 3 months, and we are going to further customize on top of yours. So it's not less money, it's more money. They respected it. Still in conversation with them. Let's see if it closes. But that's the kind of mentality you're talking about here, that just because you've done something in the past, just because it takes you less time, that doesn't mean you should be paid less. For anything, you're either paid the same or you're paid more.
Yeah.
So that's how I like to think about it. Love the comment. And yeah, your experience with forms that's valuable, right? It's if someone wants to go and build a multi-step form from scratch, it will take trial and error. They will fail. Something will not work. They will need some hours of JavaScript consulting. They're going to be banging their head on the wall. All that stuff can be avoided when you pay the premium to work with the experience. So that's wanted to jump in with that comment there.
100%. I'm very interested to hear if they close, and I love how you said, I was expecting you to say no, it's going to be the same, but more surprised me. And then when you explained that, yeah, that makes perfect sense, because whoever originally paid and got a price of, I'm just going to say for easy numbers, 10 grand, the next one is going to get that 10 grand product with extra work on top of it. So it's going to be more money, but it's also going to be more value, and it's going to be less time for you. So the way it works for the agency, the freelancer side, is more money, less time. The way it works for the client is better value, better product. And that is just a win, win, win. And similar but slightly different note is tools, because a lot of people are so hesitant, so hesitant to pay, $5, $10, $15, $20, whatever it may be, a month to use these tools. And I probably used to be the same, but what I started to realize is this: if I use a tool like StudioForm Pro, for example, if I need to build a multi-step form, I can go ahead, and I'm a pretty experienced guy, but I can go ahead and spend the next, 4 or 5 hours working on a form. And that form at the end is probably going to be worse than if I just built it using the StudioForm Pro library. That, plus the amount of time that I spent in, which also means the amount of money that I lost on that, would pay for my StudioForm subscription like 8 times. And I have a better product at the end. So that is something with any tool. Obviously, we're here talking about StudioForm Pro, but that everybody needs to think about is, if I don't pay these people to use their tool, how much time am I going to be spending to substitute for the knowledge and the edge cases as well that these people have thought of, that you, as spending 4 hours building a form, never would have thought of. So that's what I see StudioForm Pro as, is something that is just going to save so much time, way more than you're paying for it, and get you something that every web app, I would say, and a whole bunch of websites need, which is advanced forms with a good experience and good logic behind them. So that, on my end, pretty much sums it up. I love StudioForm Pro. I'm really excited to use it more in some projects. Along with that, guys, we talked a little bit about making a StudioForm and Memberstack library within StudioForm. Is that something that we think could happen? Because I'm sure a ton of Memberstack customers would be super excited for that.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. I mean, I'm still sharing my screen, I think. So, I mean, on the left side, we would be happy to add like a nice little Memberstack logo and something like Memberstack here. And then just we build some really pretty, well-functioning, high-converting components, and you just press the copy button, have it in your project.
Awesome. Because people often, when they're making onboarding, they do profile forms and multiple different pages to kind of simulate a multi-step form, which is, okay, I suppose. But this would be really, really awesome. So anyone watching this, keep an eye out for that. We're going to talk more after Leon Mohammed about getting that and anything we can do to help. And yeah, Pierre, it is a gateway to building web apps. Final point on that one for me is that's exactly how it went for me. Just first building websites, then you want to get a little bit more advanced, then a little more advanced, and then eventually you realize all these little pieces that you learned could come together to build a web app. And I encourage anyone here who's building websites with Webflow and hasn't gotten started on that journey to get started, because, Leon, how much, as far as percentage goes, did your hourly rate increase before and after you were able to build web apps?
I think tripled, something like that.
There we go.
Double to triple.
Let's just say doubled. Let's keep it a doubled. So for anyone here trying to think, how can I make
Depends
more?
on the client.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. How easy they are to work with as well, and all of that. So yeah, guys, this was great. Joe, do you have anything you want to touch on while we're here?
Yeah, I just want to encourage both of you to keep going with this. It's an early product, and I think it has a lot of potential, but you got to keep going with it. And that goes for every person that was part of this competition. First, second, third, fourth, 10th, 20th, any place. You got to keep going with this. And I see real potential here. So yeah, I think round of applause all around. Both of you did a great job. Leon, impressive development. Mohammed, the design looks wonderful. And yeah, I'm giving you both a round of applause here. From the chat, I want to hear anybody in the chat. If you like the session, give a thumbs up. Please help us out. Give a thumbs up. Give a sign up to these two people here. Go on StudioForm. Go check it out. Create an account. Use your one copy paste to try it out. And hopefully you'll be able to start selling this in your own professional career. Like we were just talking about, you get to use tools like this so you can charge more for a better product, but it actually takes you less time to build it. So you may find that you're actually going to be 2 or in some cases 3 times more efficient if you are using tools like this to build this complex functionality. So big thumbs up from me. We're seeing a lot of we're seeing some love here in the chat. Keep that love coming. Thank you very much. Julian, final words here?
Again, yeah, I second what you say. You got to keep it going because you can get off to, I would say with anything, from the point you have an idea, you can have the greatest idea on earth. If you never move it forward, you won't make $1. At the same time, if you move it a bit forward and then stop, the potential is going to drop. Any product that you're building, if you have an open mind and you keep evolving it, it cannot fail. It cannot fail. It might be a completely different version of what you started with, but if you listen to your users, you make changes and you keep an open mind, you will succeed eventually. So I second that, and that's all I have to say. Final note that I have on my end is we're going to be here next week as well with the creator of AB Wise, and along with that, don't forget, everyone, there will be another competition next year, and hopefully soon we can share some more details about that. So that is all for me. Leon, Mohammed, you guys rock. And thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity. This, has been awesome. And it has been also huge for getting the word out. Without the competition, it would have been a much smaller splash. So this has been fantastic.
Awesome.
And we're looking forward to
Also,
listening more. Yeah, you go.
Also, thank you. Honestly, the competition has let us know that we can do things in 2 weeks or less. Realizing that is, I think, the most hugest thing, because you just let yourself know that you can build stuff, iterate, and go from there, and then if it's gonna work or not in the most less priced way possible. And so that's something I love about the competition.
Exactly. That is so right. You can build it in 2 weeks. Can you build every feature? No, but you can build something and launch it in 2 weeks. So that's exactly what we wanted everyone to understand, and I'm very glad you understood that.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for coming. This was a great session. We'll see you next week at the same time to talk to first place winner AB Wise, William Brooks. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.